Good morning and welcome to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter, the show that takes a look at the events and what's happening all around Putnam County, as well as interviews with local, community, and business leaders. And now, sharing his insights and experience, here's Today in Putnam County with County Mayor Randy Porter.
Good day, and thanks for joining us this week for Today in Putnam County. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter. I hope you're having a great weekend. We've got a great show for you this week. We're going to talk about legal aid in Putnam County in the first segment, and I've got Rachel Moses as my guest today. She's an attorney with legal aid, and we've got a great event coming up this month that we're going to talk about in the second part of the show. You know, I get calls all the time from residents about legal issues they're having with their neighbor or landlord or insurance company and so on, and we have some great attorneys in our area, but some of the people are elderly, on a fixed income, or they can't afford an attorney due to disability or loss of a job. So I've been recommended that they talk to you, Rachel, at Legal Aid, but I find most folks don't even know about legal aid or where you're located, so I thought it'd be a great thing to do a show just about legal aid and get the info out to the folks. So I appreciate you being on today.
Thank you. Yes, thanks for having us, and thanks for referring folks to us, because you're right. People don't know about us, even though the whole firm has been in existence since 1968, but in Cookeville, specifically in the arcade building at 9 South Jefferson Avenue, since September 2nd of 1980. So we've been there 44 years.
And you know, I've recommended, since I've been mayor, I've recommended folks for you, but I'm not for sure before I became mayor. I even knew you were across the street. I mean, you're right there on the square with us, but I found out y'all do great work and help a lot of folks. I mean, this thing started back in the 60s, I think, didn't it?
Correct,
yes. With legal aid, and it's grown, and I think I was seeing where y'all got like 48 attorneys in 8 offices in 48 counties.
It's true, yes. The entire Middle Tennessee area is covered by our firm. The Cookeville office covers 10 counties here in the Upper Cumberland, and we have 4 attorneys in the Cookeville office to serve those counties, and we do a lot of different kinds of cases.
Talk about those. So if folks are out there and they got a legal issue or something, what do y'all cover for them?
First of all, we don't do any criminal cases. We only do civil matters, but what that includes is one area of law that people are surprised that sometimes we do. We do family law for victims of domestic violence. So if there are victims or survivors of domestic violence, we can sometimes handle their order of protection case, which is a type of restraining order to get against their abuser. Or if they are married, we can sometimes represent them in a divorce case. But we also do a lot of other civil issues. You mentioned landlords, and if you're a landlord out there, unfortunately, you probably do know about legal aid, because we do represent tenants and make sure that tenants' rights are protected, and we do give them advice. And sometimes, unfortunately, our advice is that they don't have any rights under the law. But sometimes when there are rights, we can raise those rights either in court, or we can negotiate with the landlord possibly. We also do a lot of public benefit cases, so people that are needing Medicaid or TennCare help, Medicare issues, Social Security issues, unemployment compensation issues if they've been unemployed and they're applying for those benefits, food stamps issues, families first, tax appeals with the IRS, property relief, tax relief issues. Sometimes we're considered almost like social work lawyers because we also identify programs that our clients might be eligible for that they don't even know that they're eligible for.
Don't even know you're there, do they?
Right.
Basically, you're covering most things that lawyers cover except criminal. You don't do the criminal side of it, but except working with the family law and domestic violence and stuff. So when you start looking at legal aid, and I'm sure there's some requirements that folks will have to meet to be able to use your services. So how does that work? Yeah,
so we do intakes, and they do have to meet some financial requirements. Typically, we can go a little bit over the poverty guideline, up to 125%, but sometimes we have certain grants that allow us to go over that amount, so it's hard to give just a firm number of what that income limit is. But we have great intake staff that will take a person's information, their household size, what their current income is, what expenses they may currently have, and then determine whether or not they're income eligible for our services, but then also determine whether or not it's a type of case that we handle.
Right.
Now, sometimes we're not sure on the get-go if they have a case. Just like anyone who goes to a lawyer, sometimes the lawyer doesn't know just off the bat if they have a good case.
Right.
So they have to sometimes sit down, we do consultations and talk to folks, and then figure out what their options might be. But we don't charge anything for our services. We are free legal aid. We can't even take payment even if we wanted to take payment.
So it's a great program for folks out there that may not be able to afford an attorney due to all kinds of circumstances, okay? Right. Economical circumstances happen to everyone at some point point in time. We're talking with Rachel Moses. She's an attorney with Legal Aid of the Cumberlands. They're right there on the square, right across from the courthouse at 9 South Jefferson. Their phone number is 528-7436, and we're discussing all of the types of cases that they handle and folks that they're able to help, and how, if you're looking for some legal aid, that you can reach out to them. So, Rachel, you've been with them for a while, and
yes.
What are the most cases you handle? So on a day-to-day basis, is there a group of those types of cases you talked about that y'all handle the most?
We handle mostly housing cases, which include the landlord-tenant issues, but also mortgage foreclosure problems, where sometimes people are purchasing their home but are maybe getting behind in those mortgage payments, but they have some options to keep up those payments and to catch back up. So housing and then family law are the top two. Now, there are waves of times when we have other cases. Like right now, TennCare is going through a big recertification, and a lot of our elderly clients that are on Medicare, they also receive a TennCare benefit that helps them pay for their Medicare premium, but they don't necessarily realize that TennCare is helping them. So they may get paperwork in the mail and think, oh, that doesn't apply to me, and then they just throw it away or they don't fill it out, and then all of a sudden they're getting cut from some benefits that they're used to getting. So that's where we can help them file an appeal, help them get the paperwork filed, and so that comes in waves. Like right now there's a recertification. So we have a lot of TennCare cases. We also have a lot of food stamp cases. There are a lot of people that, especially some of our elderly clients that are on fixed incomes, they qualify for a decent amount of food stamps, and sometimes they're a little hesitant to take the food stamps. I mean, my opinion is I cut out coupons and I look for good deals, and if there are benefits out there that somebody is eligible for, then go for it, especially food stamps, because that's not a welfare program. That is a nutritional program through the Department of Agriculture to try to help stimulate everyone, you know, the economy, that's the grocers, the farmers, as well as the people that need the food.
Well, you got, we see them, and every county has them all across the country, but you got folks that are senior citizens that are living on fixed incomes.
Yes.
Maybe they've lost their spouse, and they're trying to live on Social Security. And I know we have some folks in our church that we've had where I don't know how they got by.
Right.
But very proud people, okay, and they're not going to be asking for anything, and they're going to pinch and maybe not eat what they need to, but that's what those programs are for, is to help people like that, right?
Absolutely. And same with medications, like, for the elderly folks, sometimes, they're choosing to not eat but pay for medications, but there's actually programs out there for low-income people on Medicare to help them have low costs for medicines, the Extra Help program and with Medicare Part D. And so, I had a gentleman come not too long ago, and he didn't even know he was eligible for that program. We got him on there. He didn't think he was eligible for food stamps, but we got him on food stamps, and then we got him up some back pay where, he told me it felt like he won the lottery because he was just getting benefits that he was entitled to. He just didn't know.
He just didn't know about it. We get calls to my office all the time with folks that have legal problems and they don't know who to reach out to.
Yes.
They can't afford an attorney. They're on fixed income, Social Security or something, and y'all provide a great service to be able to help those folks. A lot of times we get folks that are having boundary issues.
Yes.
My neighbor is all of a sudden doing this on my property, and we get those calls and we send them to you, but it seems like anymore there's not the respect sometimes between neighbors. You get in these disputes, and I think 25 or 30 years ago we probably wouldn't be arguing about this, but it seems like anymore that in the society we live, we seem to get more of those type calls, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yes, it is hard, and we don't do a whole lot of property dispute issues. However, if there is, especially in our elderly population, if there are people that are being taken advantage of,
that's where we get a lot of times.
Yes, and we have seen in recent years more vulnerable adults being exploited, and there's actually some help for them, and we can provide that to maybe keep the bad doer away from the vulnerable adult.
Yeah. When did you get in this, Rachel? So I've known you for a long time, okay? And I have to imagine the job that you're doing is very rewarding.
It is.
Because it's not based on billable hours trying to make money. You're there to provide that service to these folks. But what made you want to get into legal aid?
Well, I went to law school at UT Knoxville with the idea of I wanted to help children.
Yeah.
And then I got introduced to a legal aid executive director from the Oak Ridge office, and I grew up in Oak Ridge, and he showed me how all of these legal aid services, not everybody has children, but there are a lot of families that we help.
Right.
And I started doing the work in law school and was like, yes, this is what I want to do. And especially when, if a client comes to our office, they may come because they have one main issue they're focusing on.
Yeah.
But then we can identify that they actually have 4 or 5 other problems that they didn't even realize were there, or they knew that they were there, but they just didn't want to deal with them. But we can maybe help identify and help all 5 of those problems and actually change their lives sometimes.
Yeah.
I do also do some special ed work. I represent kids with disabilities, making sure that they are getting the services that they need.
That is great.
From both schools, but also TenCare. And so I can directly help kids. And it's just something, it's been a passion my whole career. And I've been there now 22 years in the Cookeville office. And
that's amazing.
Very happy to be here.
Y'all do such a great job there providing these services. And like I said, it's got to be really rewarding. But we need that in our community. Every community needs that, because there's always going to be people that they're disabled, they're on fixed incomes with our elderly, they've lost their job, they're being taken advantage of in some kind of situation, they don't have the money to afford an attorney, and y'all feel a big void there.
Thank you. Well, and I'm happy to say that every county in the country is covered by a legal aid office. So,
wow.
And in the state of Tennessee, we have 4 legal aid providers. Ours is the biggest, the Legal Aid of Middle Tennessee, because we cover those 48 counties, but there's Legal Aid of East Tennessee that covers Chattanooga, Knoxville, the Upper East. We have West Tennessee Legal Services in Jackson and Dyersburg, and then we have Memphis Area Legal Services, and they cover Memphis. And but again, even though we've been around since the 60s, a lot of people still don't know about it.
Still don't know about it. And so y'all have attorneys that volunteer to do pro bono cases too?
Yes. In addition to the 4 staff attorneys, myself and 3 others, we have volunteer attorneys all throughout the counties that we serve who take on cases for us on a pro bono basis. We also have a contract program where we can pay some private lawyers, much smaller fee than they probably could get in private practice, but just as something to help them handle the cases we do, especially in our family law, because we get so many calls for family law. And so we have some attorneys that we contract with. We organize clinics to try to provide, especially counsel and advice, those free consultations, just to let people talk about their problem and see what their legal solution might be. And so we try to organize those. We've got something coming up in Overton County on November 14th with the Recovery Rally up there, and we're going to do a pro bono clinic that Judge Colson up in Overton County organizes, and Andrea Ayers up there. So we're looking forward to doing that.
As far as folks contacting you, do you prefer the telephone, or do you have other ways that you prefer?
Telephone is the best because they don't have to physically come in. They can just call. But if they don't have a phone, they can physically come to our office in the Arcade Building at 9 South Jefferson Avenue. But we do have a website, las.org. So LAS stands for Legal Aid Society. And then on our website, there's a lot of brochures available. There's some videos about just teaching people about their legal rights. So it might be something to just check out anyway. And then it has the phone numbers for all 8 of our offices.
Great. And here in Cookeville, 931-528-7436?
Yep, that is right.
Hey, Rachel, I appreciate you being on the show this week. And thank you for what y'all do, and keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. Thank you for letting us be here.
Absolutely. Hey, stay with us. We got more today in Putnam County. My next guests are Becky Carlson and Peggy Jones. We're going to talk about the Cookeville Crazy Quilters and a big event that they've got coming up in Cookeville. Stay with us.
And now back to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter.
Welcome back to Today in Putnam County. I'm your host, County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you're having a great weekend. My next guests are Becky Carlson, Peggy Jones, and Linda Buchanan. They're with something called the Cookeville Crazy Quilters. And if you go back like I do, I remember my grandmother quilting, and I always thought what an art that was to be able to create these beautiful quilts. And I still have a lot of hers at my house, but they're putting on the Southern Charm Quilt Show for 2024. It's going to be Friday and Saturday, November the 15th and 16th to Central City Church. Now these ladies here today to talk about Crazy Quilters and the quilt show. And Linda, I'm going to start with you. How did the Crazy Quilters come about?
Well, in 1989, a lady named Maria Rakoski put an ad in the paper for anyone who was interested in coming to start a quilt group in Cookeville. So we met at the library, and there was about 10 ladies ladies, and these 10 ladies call themselves the charter members. And we're so proud to have been a group that has lasted for 35 years.
35 years.
We've had a really good time. We have some really active members, and we're growing, and I hope it goes on for the next 35 years. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
That would be wonderful.
We have a passion for an art. It's called quilting, and it is an art form. It's a multi-million-dollar industry.
Wow.
You know, you can have a quilt that goes on all these tours to the different quilt shows, and they can make thousands of dollars in prize money. But we just like to provide quilts for our family, something to be remembered by. No two quilts are alike. When we started, we had a mentor from Bell Buckle, Tennessee. Her name was Mildred Locke. She was starting the Tennessee Valley Quilters, and she wanted us to form a guild, and she did a lot of free classes and so forth. Most of our membership were new, but there were some that really knew how to quilt. We had Darlene Reel, who'd even been published in a quilt book, and then we had people like Judy Taylor, who we just worked hard, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the ladies that's passed was Virginia Throckmorton, and her husband was a professor at Tech.
Right.
She just, you know, gave her heart to it, and it's a passion. Why we're doing the quilt show is to get other people interested.
I mean, I remember back growing up, and my grandmother was a big quilter, but they get a group of ladies together and sit all day for days, sometimes making a quilt. And it was amazing at the talent that they had. And now, today, I go to a lot of benefits for a lot of nonprofits and stuff, and a lot of times they'll have quilts to auction. And you're right. Beautiful quilts going for thousands of dollars that folks are buying them. You talk about trying to get people interested in it. The younger generations, are you having a hard time getting those folks to get interested in it?
We were in the past, but we're seeing some membership that's coming in that's new, and they're buying what we call a long arm machine.
Yeah.
It's a big investment. When we first started, long arm over hand quilting, but now if you're a good long armer, you're worth your weight in gold. So
quilts.
it's a really great thing. Another thing we're seeing when we go to quilt shows now, we're seeing men are interested in it. We've had, and when we first started, there was a few men in it, but my husband goes with me, and man, look at all these men here now. So it's a wonderful craft and a wonderful thing, and at the end, you have something to be proud of.
My grandmother taught me how to crochet. I still can crochet. I'm not very good at it, but I thought some of those old crafts like that, they kind of went by the wayside, but I'm glad to see that you're keeping the quilting alive. Becky, y'all have this group, and aside from the show we'll talk about in a minute, but you have this group of quilters, and so y'all get together, and what do you do with your membership?
Well, our group is open to all skill levels, so you don't have to be a skilled quilter, because we love having new people
to
want to learn. And right now we've got over 40 members in our local guild, and we do have classes. We hold retreats and have sew days, so we still sit and sew all day. And some of the classes, we might teach various patterns. Maybe you've heard of the log cabin pattern or disappearing 9-patch. Stars are popular.
Yeah.
Some of our people are into modern or art quilts. And we also gift charity quilts to Mustard Seed Ranch and Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Our group supports Helping Hands and other community efforts. Other members can offer guidance. If someone comes in and, I want to learn how to hand piece, I want to learn how to hand quilt, or machine piecing, or machine quilting. Applique, that's a popular technique. There's embroidery in quilts. We make wall hangings, table runners, baby quilts, bed quilts, memory quilts, you name it.
If it's quilting, you're doing it, right?
If it's quilting, and if it isn't, we can probably quilt it. But some of the recent activities have involved making quilts of valor, and these are quilts that are awarded to military veterans.
Those are really nice, too.
It's a nice way to recognize our veterans.
Yes.
And these presentations are registered with the Quilts of Valor Foundation. So it's in there forever for those veterans to be recognized.
I went to one of those events where they honored one of the veterans with one of those quilts, and I thought, how amazing and what a precious thought to do that. We love our veterans here in Putnam County, and my dad was in the Army in the Vietnam War, so I especially, my heart's there with them, and for y'all to do that, that is just amazing, I think.
And, you know, if you see presentation of Quilts of Valor, it will bring tears to your eyes.
It did.
And, you know, we meet at the Putnam County Library, very central location, the first Thursday of the month at 10 a.m., and we'd love to have new people join us.
So if somebody'd like to join you, can they call you, Peggy, or how do you want them to do that? Email you, call you, or how would someone get in touch with y'all?
We have a Facebook page, and they can contact us through that, or they can just show up.
At the Putnam County Library the first Thursday of the month at 10 a.m.?
Yes.
That's great. Peggy, talk about this quilt show. No, it's at the Central City Church.
Yes, Central City Church has been kind enough to let us use their facility. The entrance
That's in the old Cookeville Mall, right? For everybody that might not know, yeah.
And the entrance to the show will be on the I-40 side, which is in the back of the building. We're asking for a $5 donation, which in turn we will be donating to local charities. And we're going to have quilt vendors there from different shops selling quilting items. So if you get interested, you can buy a kit or fabric and a pattern. And we're going to have the Quilt of Valor presentation on Saturday.
And y'all made the quilt, right?
Yes. These are all quilts made by our guild.
Good.
And we'll have the Quilt of Valor presentation on Saturday at 3 o'clock.
And you're doing, how many veterans are you doing this year that you're awarding the quilt to? Five veterans? 5 veterans. Army, Air Force, and Navy, I guess, are going to be some of the representatives that you're giving them to?
That's correct.
That's an amazing thing. That just touches my heart that y'all are doing this and doing that for our veterans, because those really mean something to them. You know, thinking back about a lot of our wars, the veterans came home and they were honored, but we got our Vietnam veterans that was such a terrible time. I remember as a child, those folks are military personnel coming back home, and they weren't welcomed like that they were after World War II and World War I. It's sad that the way it would happen, but I think we've tried to make up for that since then, hadn't we? Those veterans that served in Vietnam, we've tried to do everything we can to make them feel honored, just like everybody else. And I think this Quilts of Valor, I appreciate y'all doing that so much. That is one great thing. Let's talk about the actual show. So it's going to be at the Central City Church. You're going to have all these quilts on display that folks can come in and look at. Is there a charge to get in or anything to come to the quilt show?
Yes, we're asking for a $5 donation.
Okay. Covers both days if you want to come in. So you're going to be there on Friday 15th from 9 a.m. to 4 and Saturday the 16th 9 a.m. to 4. So giving a chance for everybody to come by and just come in and look at the quilts. So when are you doing Quilts of Valor? You're doing a presentation at a specific time that you're going to do that?
Yes, on Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And everyone's welcome to come to that and check them out. So that's the Cookeville Crazy Quilters, as they're called. These are some great ladies, and they're doing a very specific type of art. I put it is, if you've ever watched them make quilts, it's a form of art. Not everybody can do that, and you would love to have folks come in and join you to be able to teach folks how to do it. We don't want to see that art get lost. There's some beautiful quilts I have that my grandmother made that I cherish. They're a memory that we will pass on from generation to generation.
Speaking of grandmother's quilt, there will be a certified quilt appraiser at the show. She is charging $30, and I understand that most appraisals run anywhere from $50 to $80 or more.
A lot more dollars.
So, bring grandma's quilt to be appraised.
And just see what it's worth.
I have a quilt of my grandmother's that I'm going to have appraised that day.
That's a great addition to the quilt show, is to be able to bring your quilts in and get them appraised. And mine has so much sentimental value to them. I couldn't stand to part with them. It's that memories. But when you start passing stuff on in the States, that appraisal can be very key as to gets passed down from generations as to what the value of those quilts are. So That's a great thing. I know you get together once a month and you have your quilting thing. On your other days, on your time off, do you do quilting at home, or do y'all get together at other times?
Oh, a lot of us, may spend every day in our sewing rooms doing quilting, and not only the piecing, but also the quilting. And as I mentioned, we have retreats. We may have a 4 or 5 day retreat where we go and just quilt all day and share quilting. And if you run into a problem, there's always somebody
that's going to
help you through it.
That just sounds like a great time to get together, doesn't it, Linda? I mean, y'all got to enjoy it.
Well, we collect fabric that can become a problem.
We're curators.
But that is part of our collection and patterns and going to quilt shows. And one of the big ones is in Paducah. And we've all been and had a great time doing that. So.
That's great. I'm proud of you for carrying on this tradition and this art, and then making it available for folks to go see. If you've never seen some of these quilts or never been to one of these quilt shows, you're going to be amazed at those quilts and the art and so tedious sometimes it looks like, the stitches and stuff that's put in those quilts. They are absolutely amazing. So that's the Southern Charm Quilt Show. It's going to be on Friday, November the 15th and Saturday, November the 16th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Central City Church. That's in the old Cookeville Mall, if you don't know that. It's going to be a great time. They ask for a $5 donation at the door to cover you for both days to come and see this. Ladies, thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for being on the show. I wish you the best at your quilt show, and I'll do my best to come by and see you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Got a couple of announcements here. We're going to have a new event. It's called Christmas on the Square. It's going to be November the 30th. That's the Saturday after Thanksgiving from 2 to 5 p.m. on the Square. We're going to do it in conjunction with Shop Local. We're going to have Christmas train rides, games, bounce houses, free treats, free photos with Santa, all kinds of things for the kids. So bring them out. The whole event is free. That is November the 30th, 2 to 5 p.m. That's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And then the Cookeville tree lighting ceremony is going to be December the 8th at 6 p.m. So some great Christmas events coming up. Christmas is just right around the corner. That's our show for this week. Hope you join us every weekend for Today in Putnam County. I'm County Mayor Randy Porter. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and may God continue to bless our great county.
You've been listening to Today in Putnam County, hosted by Putnam County Mayor Randy Porter.